What if you could stop buying seeds every single spring and finally end the backbreaking work of tilling your soil, all while actually harvesting more food? Most gardeners are stuck in this annual reset cycle. You start from scratch, you burn out, and you do it all over again next year. Honestly, it's exhausting and it's completely unnecessary. A few years ago, I hit a breaking point. I was replanting my lettuce beds for the third time in one season, sweating in the sun, and I asked myself, why am I rebuilding a system that should be rebuilding itself? That's when I shifted to what I now call a perennial first strategy. Instead of fighting the seasons, I started investing in crops that come back stronger every year without me lifting a finger. Since making that switch, my seed costs have dropped to nearly zero, and my harvests have become more predictable than ever. Today, I'm handing you the blueprint for 9 extraordinary perennial crops that you plant just once and harvest for years, some even for decades. We're moving away from high-maintenance gardening and building a permanent food forest that works for you, not the other way around. Make sure you stick around for our #1 pick. It's a plant so bizarre and high-yielding that most people think it's a myth, but it might just be the most important thing you ever put in the ground. Let's dive in. Kicking us off at #9, chives. I call them the immortal onion because once you plant them, they just keep coming back, earlier every spring than almost anything else in the garden. Sometimes they're the first green thing I see pushing through cold soil. They're not just garnish. Their natural sulfur compounds can help deter aphids and certain beetles, especially when planted near vulnerable crops. They're not magic shields, but they absolutely earn their space in a mixed bed. The real pro move is maintenance. If you ignore a clump for too long, the center starts to thin out and production drops. Every 2 or 3 years, dig it up in early spring or fall and slice the root ball cleanly in half or even thirds. Replant immediately, water well, and you've just multiplied your harvest for free. And don't overlook the flowers. Those purple pom-poms aren't just ornamental. They had the same mild onion flavor. Steep them in vinegar for a few days and you get a naturally pink, chive-infused finish that looks impressive but takes almost no effort. At #8, we have rhubarb. This plant is unbelievably resilient. Some years it's pushing up thick red stalks while there's still frost in the mornings. It doesn't wait for perfect conditions, it just goes. I think of rhubarb as a legacy asset. Plant one healthy crown in the right spot and it can produce for decades with very little intervention. Important warning, the stalks are edible and tart, but the leaves contain high levels of oxalic acid and shouldn't be eaten. Just remove and compost them. Don't treat them like something dangerous, just something not meant for the plate. When it comes to harvesting, skip the knife. Instead, grab a mature stalk near the base, twist gently, and pull. This removes the entire stalk cleanly from the crown and reduces the chance of leaving behind a stub that can trap moisture and invite rot. One more discipline tip. Never harvest more than about a third of the stalks at once. Let the plant keep enough leaf surface to recharge itself. Like most long-term perennials, rhubarb rewards restraint. #7 is asparagus. This plant is a 15 to 20-year commitment to gourmet eating. When I first planted mine, I didn't fully appreciate the patience required. Watching those first tender spears pop up and not harvesting them feels almost unnatural, but that restraint is what makes the difference long-term. Skip the seeds and start with 1-year-old crowns. You'll save time and dramatically increase your chances of success. Think of your asparagus bed like a high-yield savings account. You have to let the interest build in the root system for the first 2 full seasons. I've seen gardeners harvest too heavily in year 2 and weaken the entire bed. A good rule of thumb, wait until the spears are coming up thick, about pencil diameter or larger, and the plants look vigorous before you begin full harvests in year 3. Once established, the flavor is on another level. Fresh-cut asparagus from your own bed is noticeably sweeter and tender than store-bought, and a healthy patch can produce dozens of spears per plant during peak season. It's one of the few vegetables that truly rewards patience. At #6 is sorrel, the garden's hidden gem. The flavor isn't just lemony. It has that clean, citrusy sharpness that cuts through rich foods, almost like adding a squeeze of lemon without the liquid. Fresh young leaves are the most balanced. Older ones get noticeably more intense. You rarely see sorrel in grocery stores because it wilts quickly after harvest. It's one of those crops that only really shines when you grow it yourself. If you want steady leaf production, snip off the flower stalks as soon as they appear. Once it starts going to seed, the leaves toughen and the flavor becomes harsher. Removing the stalks redirects energy back into fresh foliage. And while it handles heat far better than lettuce, it's not indestructible. In peak summer, giving it a bit of afternoon shade keeps the leaves tender and extends your harvest window. Once established, though, it's one of the lowest maintenance perennial greens you can plant. Moving to number 5, the globe artichoke. I like to think of it as edible architecture. The silvery, deeply cut leaves alone make it one of the most dramatic plants you can grow in a vegetable garden. But it's not just ornamental. You're harvesting the immature flower buds, so timing is everything. Pick them while they're still tight and firm before the bracts begin to loosen. That's when the texture is tender and the flavor is at its best. If you wait too long, the bud opens into a striking purple thistle-like bloom. It's beautiful, pollinator-friendly, and absolutely worth seeing at least once, but at that stage, it's no longer ideal for the table. One practical note. In colder climates, artichokes are often grown as annuals or need winter protection. In milder zones, they can behave like true perennials and improve year after year. With this plant, you're always making a choice. Harvest early for food or let one open for the spectacle. Either way, it earns its space. Number 4 is blueberries. I used to think growing blueberries was simple. Plant the bush and wait. My first attempt proved me wrong. I planted them in neutral soil, and for 2 years, I got small, disappointing harvests. The leaves looked fine, but the berries were tiny. Here's the make or break factor: pH. Blueberries are acid lovers. If your soil isn't between 4.5 and 5.5, they won't truly thrive. Once I adjusted mine to just under 5.0 using pine bark and elemental sulfur, the difference was dramatic. Larger berries and noticeably heavier clusters the very next season. Also, don't make the mistake of planting just one bush. I did that at first. Adding a second variety nearby nearly doubled my production thanks to cross-pollination. And here's the hard part. Pinch off the flowers for the first year or two. It feels wrong cutting potential fruit, but you're investing in the root system. When those roots mature, the payoff isn't incremental, it's exponential. Number 3 is horseradish. This is the John Wick of the garden, nearly impossible to kill. The first time I planted it, I underestimated just how persistent it was. I tucked a single root cutting into the corner of a raised bed, and within 2 seasons, it had quietly claimed more territory than I planned. The flavor, though, completely different from store-bought. Freshly grated horseradish has a sharp, sinus-clearing heat that fades quickly if you don't process it right away. That intensity comes from volatile compounds released the moment you cut the root. So here's the containment strategy I use now. Plant it in a buried, bottomless bucket or dedicate a clearly defined bed just for it. You'll contain the spread while still harvesting thick, healthy roots every fall. Dig them after the first hard frost. Cold stress concentrates the flavor, and the roots are at peak potency. Just remember, any small root fragment left behind can become next year's plant. With horseradish, nothing truly goes to waste. As we hit number 2, meet Jerusalem artichoke, also known as sunchokes. I originally planted mine as an experiment in the worst corner of my yard. Compacted soil, almost no amendments. I figured if anything could survive there, it would be these. By the end of that first season, I was digging up buckets of tubers from ground I'd nearly written off. That's when I started thinking of them as food insurance. They tolerate neglect, grow 8 to 10 feet tall, and double as a living privacy screen while quietly producing calorie-dense tubers underground. But here's the part I learned the hard way. Plant them exactly where you want them long-term. I once let a patch expand unchecked, and containing it the following year took real effort. Even small tuber pieces left behind will re-sprout. They're generous, but persistent. And yes, they've earned the nickname fartichokes. The key is timing. Wait until after a hard frost to harvest. Cold exposure helps convert much of the stored inulin into simpler sugars, which improves both flavor and digestibility. With sunchokes, harvest timing makes all the difference. Finally, number 1, the Egyptian walking onion. If you've never seen one in person, it almost looks like a mistake in nature. Instead of producing flowers and seeds the way most onions do, they form clusters of small bulbils at the top of their stalks. As those bulbils mature and gain weight, the stalk bends down until it touches the soil. Given contact with the ground, they root and establish a new plant a short distance away. Over time, the patch slowly expands outward, almost as if it's walking. They're extremely hardy, tolerant of cold, and far less fussy than many traditional bulb onions. And because you can harvest from both the underground bulbs and the top sets, they provide food in multiple forms throughout the season. The key is simple: give them space from the beginning. Once established, they're remarkably self-sustaining. It's one of the clearest examples of what plant once, harvest for years can actually look like in a real garden. That's your 9-plant foundation for a more self-sustaining garden, from early spring chives to onions that replant themselves. Each of these perennials is designed to give back more than they take. If you're building a garden that works with you instead of demanding constant replanting, this is where it starts. And remember, none of these plants reach their full potential without healthy soil. If you want to understand what actually makes perennials thrive long-term, I've put together a deeper breakdown on soil health that connects directly to everything we covered today. Thanks for spending part of your day in the garden with me. I'll see you in the next harvest.